Hey everyone, and welcome to The Dish with the Doulas at Hands Doula, which is us today.
Hello.
Hello. So we're so excited to have lunch with you and talk. Just have some chats.
To get personal.
Yeah, get personal, get real, talk about some different issues, answer some questions. So this is our very first episode. So we're figuring stuff out. I'm curious as to how we're going to eat and talk at the same time. This should be interesting.
We'll have to take turns.
Like right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So today we thought we would just get started by chatting about who we are and why we are doulas and why we are passionate about helping families and you can get to know us a little bit more. So if you have any questions that you want to ask us along the way about us or anything, let us know, and we'll chat.
Mm-hmm. So you can even let us know what you're eating, because Christy's got some exciting stuff.
I do.
I've got a cauliflower pizza, courtesy of Drew, who's behind the camera, who will be looking at all of your questions. Hi.
I'm eating too.
Yeah.
And what are you eating today, Christy?
Oh, well, I have broccoli, obviously, and quinoa with a mix of turkey and tempeh. So I'm trying to eat a little less meat because I have a great role model here. However, I am not a fan of tempeh yet, so I'm mixing it in to get it down. So I also have a salad and some fruit. So I eat large meals because I only eat 3 times a day, so I pack it in.
And I'm more of a grazer.
Yes.
Like a gazelle.
You are like a gazelle.
Sorry, we're just being weird because that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe what we can start with is why we became doulas.
Mm-hmm.
And since you've got a mouthful of food, I'll go first.
I did that on purpose.
I figured. So I normally tell people the short version of why I became a doula. I think it's because I get asked probably every day that I've shortened it. But I think for the first time, maybe I will give the long rendition of why I started to become a doula. So to backtrack, even before I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, I was always very fascinated with children. I was fascinated with pregnancy, and I remember just being very close to my own mom for her pregnancies and just being very interested. Over the years, I really started to think more and more about what I wanted to be when I grew up, which we put pressure on children on a regular basis to know by grade 8, grade 9, of what you want to be. So this was always in the back of my mind, and I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I knew what I didn't want to be. And my father is an accountant, and I went to Take Your Kid grade 9 work day, and I watched what accountants do. And leaving there, I knew I didn't want an office job, I didn't want to work 9 to 5, I didn't want to have to wear a suit every day, and I wanted to work with people, not with books. So I went into this realm of trying to figure out what I wanted to do and decided to apply for a health science and psychology degree at Western because I wanted to be able to help people during times of transition, but also in the medical field without doing anything medical. So I remember it is tricky. I remember telling my guidance counselor all of this, and they said, well, maybe you should try to keep your expectations down a little bit and maybe just try to, go into health sciences and see what happens. So I did, but I hated health sciences. I loved the courses, but I didn't want to do health communication. I didn't want to do health policy. I didn't want to be a nurse. I didn't want to be a doctor. I just wanted to help people. So I started thinking about psychology. So I moved around my major. Do you want to guess how many times?
4.
You're so close. 5.
Ooh.
5 times before I graduated. And because of that, I had to go back for another semester to take 1/2 credit. So because I gave myself so much stress about what I was going to do, this big idea of this profession that I didn't know that existed, I went back and I took random courses. I took the philosophy of sex and gender, I took children's literature, I took astronomy, I took the randomest classes, and I also took the philosophy of witchcraft. And I had no interest in becoming a witch. I get asked that on a regular basis. I just wanted to do things that were out of my normal. So in this class, I learned about midwives, because midwives were the ones that were hunted in the European witch trials. Mm-hmm. And I just had this aha moment of my great-grandmother talking to me about her midwives in the old country, and how even when she was in her 80s, she still remembers the experience with that positivity. So I started to think, okay, well, I love birth, I love psychology, I love health sciences, maybe this is a fit. So I started to apply for the midwifery program very naively in my first year, and realized that I was not going to get in with good grades. I was going to have to get in with just being a nuisance, with continuously applying over and over again. So I was a little defeated, and by a little I mean a lot defeated, as I'm sure you probably were too. Mm-hmm. And someone said to me, well, why don't you start working as a doula while you're applying for midwifery? And I was like, well, what is a doula? Which I think is so funny that I had no idea that they existed. Mm-hmm. So I started to apply into taking doula work and loving the support, loving the experience, and really having that aha moment of this is exactly where I want to be. I want to be supporting families at their birthday parties. But the problem was, at the time, there weren't really any other doulas out there that were doing this professionally. So I didn't really see it as an option. So I still kind of kept it on the back burner, continuously was thinking about midwifery. And then I met my partner, Christy. We were not partners yet, but I used her as a free mentorship program and found out that she was doing this full time for a living and loved it. So I thought to myself, if Christy can do it, why can't I? So I stole that from you a little bit.
You're welcome to.
And fell in love with it. And that was about 10 years ago that I started, but really 6 years ago that I started to do this full time and putting all of my energy into doula work. That was weird for me to talk so much about that experience. Usually it's like a 30-second elevator pitch. So yeah. I'm going to pass it on to you. Why did you become a doula?
Well, it's interesting because we have a lot of parallels and yet differences. So I did know about midwifery when I was like a teenager. I was in the gynecologist's office and there was a pamphlet, and I read about midwifery and I thought, wow, this sounds totally the way I would want to support women through their transition into becoming parents. So I got so fixated on that's what I needed to do. It was there was nothing else, like becoming a nurse, becoming anything else was just not going to happen. I needed to be a midwife. And then I did have my daughter quite young, and I had midwives deliver her, and they were so lovely. Like, they just treated me like anyone else, and I felt so empowered by that experience that I even more so really wanted to do this for my career. And it was very difficult to get into the program. Like, the year I applied, there was 2,000 applicants for 17 spaces. Like, it was insane. And I knew that the average applicant applied 6 times. So just like you, I was going to keep applying until they got sick of seeing my name. And they're like, oh, okay, let's just let her in because we're tired of seeing her in the admissions process. But I secretly hoped, even though that was my plan, I secretly hoped when I put in my application that I'd be chosen, right? Like, first off. And so when I got the rejection letter, sounds so sad. I felt really disappointed. And then I thought, well, now what? What am I going to do now? I can't wait 6 years to start my life. And so, thankfully, a guidance counselor suggested that I look into massage therapy. So the reason why I thought about that was I'd like, okay, 2 years post-secondary, all anatomy and physiology, I'll kind of figure out the body and know that for when I go to university, which I figured would be helpful. But I'd also be 2 years older and be able to work until I got into the program. So that seemed like a good life choice.
A very smart life choice.
I do make them sometimes. And so, yeah, I went into massage program and was teamed up with a second-year student who was expecting. And I'm so grateful for that because she got to know what my plans were, and she asked me if I wanted to be at her birth. So I went to her birth. I had no idea there was such a thing as a doula. I went as a massage therapist providing labor support. So that was sort of my angle for a while, was just kind of using the massage therapy, because I've been doing this now 17 years, and no one knew what a doula was 17 years ago.
Well, and I think that a massage therapist, you can envision exactly what they do coming to a birth. People that don't know what a doula is, they may not know that the massage techniques that are done by an RMT are exactly the same as what a doula would provide in labor.
Exactly. So that was how I opened up the conversation. That was how, hey, I'm a massage therapist. Could you imagine having a massage therapist at your birth? And people would get super excited. So, even though I was doing that, though, even though word was getting around and I was doing doula work, my plan was not to be a doula. My plan was to still get into the Ryerson program.
And why was that?
Unfortunately, to be completely honest, I felt like you doula'd if you couldn't be a midwife. Like that it was the poor man's midwife. And that's kind of how I felt about doula work in the beginning. And what's interesting though is the more doula work I did, the more I found that as a doula, I was able to provide such a unique support. I did births with midwives, and I started to see, because those rose-colored glasses come off, and you start to see what their life is really like, and all the charting and all the work, and things that took them away from the fun stuff that I liked. I liked that that connection, that continuous support. So each contraction being able to help with whatever, not showing partner something and then going to do something and then coming back. So I really enjoyed that, and but it took me a little bit of time to really feel like being a doula is amazing. Like, we have so much freedom. We get to provide such an amazing support that is unlike anything else. And so I met my husband, Wayne, and we were going to be settling into our life together. So I thought, why don't I see where this doula thing takes me? And over years, just fell in love with it, and 17 years later, still loving it. Yeah. So, that's my story. And what's interesting now is we're transitioning. So, do you want to tell the story of how we started working together? Like why we started working together?
So Christy and I met about 6 years ago, because the traditional role of a doula, or the traditional model of doula care, is you work as a doula as a sole provider, and you interview, you match with other couples, and if they decide to have you, you're on call for them for a certain window of care. But in a situation of, let's say, you get sick, you've got a family commitment, or if you have two clients, even months apart, deliver around the same time, you can't duplicate yourself, and you can't, be in two places at once. That's impossible. So what we used to do is we would have a list of trusted backups, and Christy and I met because we needed trusted backups, and our clients loved our support equally. And that's what you really need to do as a solo doula. You need to make sure that you've got good trusted backups. But the problem is your clients never get to meet that backup support. So it's a lot of trust, and unfortunately, like when those times come, it was always uncomfortable for us. Not because we didn't think that our backup would do a great job. It was just that we had built such a great connection with that couple, and when you can't be there because of obligations that come up that are unexpected, it really sucks. It really, really sucks. The other side of it is it's really tiring. So being on call 365 days a year, 24/7, and never knowing when you're going to be called to a birth, for how long you'll be called to a birth, and how much time in between your clients are that you get to rest is impossible. And because of that, doula burnout rate is very high. The last time I was chatting with a doula trainer, they were saying it's probably about 2 years. And that's really unfortunate to me. You invest a lot of time and energy to become a doula, and then to only have a very short career, it's kind of heartbreaking. So because of that, Christy and I connected and we sat down. We were both getting to a point where I was feeling very burnt out. I was tired. And Christy, you were probably feeling burnt out too.
I was almost past done.
Yeah.
Niall was starting daycare. So it was kind of a turning point for me where I could make some decisions. Did I want to focus my energy on building Helping Hands? Did I want to focus my energy on just being a subcontractor with another doula agency? Did I want to give up doula work altogether and just work as a massage therapist? And I remember having lunch with you, with Niall, at Pickle Barrel, actually. I am not a list person. I am not someone who writes down pros and cons of things. Like, I go by what I feel. But I wrote down my pros and cons, and each option had 6 pros and 6 cons. Not helpful. And I remember someone saying, go with what fires you up. And I remember telling you, nothing is firing me up. None of these options are really lighting me up. I was just feeling so kind of depleted. And that's when you swooped in and said...
Well, but you did mention to me months ahead of time that you were struggling with these decisions and what to do. And it was at lunch that you were like, I just don't know what's the best option. And that's when I said, well, what if we just become partners and change the whole traditional model of doula care and switch to a partnership method?
Yeah. And I remember you saying that, and all of a sudden that fire was lit, and I was like, yes.
Yes, and it was lit because you full on took off running.
I did, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was like,
okay,
you want to do it? All right, let's go.
Let's get engaged, let's get married, and let's...
I think I just ran you to the altar. I don't even think there was any courtship.
No, we're eloping.
Yep. And, we can't take credit for the shared care model.
No.
That it has been around. But it really is still not the norm when it comes to doula work yet, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of doulas that I think would be able to support more families, be there for their families a little bit more, find more work-life balance. But it's been 3.5 years now.
4 years in December.
4 years in December. And I can't even imagine now going back to the way life was before. How long was your longest birth that you had been at?
Oh, geez. The longest birth I was ever at, I think, was about 45 or 46 hours.
That's insane.
It was pretty nuts.
Yeah.
And
I had 36.
It's crazy. It's a long time. It's also crazy for that person in labor, of course.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's when you've got the hormones that are going through your body that's helping you with that. It's a little bit different in a way because you are still being that professional in a room, and you still need to be able to collect yourself and be able to give the best informational support. And if you're doing a lot of comfort measures like massage, that is a very long time to go without sleep.
Yep. I remember sleeping on the floor in the bathroom at a client's house, and when I would hear her wake up and have a contraction, I would get up and massage her back in the bath, and then I would lie on her bath mat again until the next contraction. It was just craziness. And it's so nice now to know that I can say, hey, I need to sleep. And I think too, clients feel better.
Oh, for sure.
Because I know the long births that I was at, those clients felt horrible that I was still there, and I never wanted anyone to feel that way.
Yeah.
Right.
So that birth that I was at, that was 46 hours. Right after she gave birth, she didn't tell anyone what the baby's name was going to be. And I asked her, I said, so what is your baby's name? And she smiled at me and she's like, I think I might need to name her Jessica. And the only reason why she said that was because she knew I was up with her for 46 hours. She didn't name her baby Jessica, but it's, you know, it's appreciated, but you also feel bad. Like they feel bad for calling you if it's a long induction or if things start and stop. We don't like that. Like we want to be called when a client needs us, and knowing that, you know, after a certain number of time, if I need a refresh, I can call Christy, who has a relationship with that client and is able to.
And that's the key.
Exactly.
That's the key, is that our clients don't care because they know us both equally. And so, you know, there's no guilt with leaving. And yeah, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. But we went from a team of 1 to a team of 2 to a team of 5 to a team of 7 to a team of 15, which is amazing. So we're super excited about that.
And we wanted to replicate the sustainability that we were so longing for. You know, that burnout feeling. We didn't want that to be a part of our future. We wanted to have processes into place so that, you know, clients would love the support, but it would also not be at the expense of our work life either. And that's our big goal, is to make sure that this is a really sustainable career for many individuals.
Absolutely. So we wanted to save some time for some fun questions. Drew, has there been any questions? No, but you had some questions for us, right?
Yes. What are 3 things that you love?
Okay. These questions are hard for me, but I will try to answer them. Number 1, wiener dogs. I have 2 wiener dogs, Abby and Daisy, and they are the size of babies, and they really are my fur babies, so that would be number 1. 2 would be being in the water. I don't care if it's a hot tub, a bath, the sea, lane swimming. That is where I can totally melt off any stress and just be completely zen. And then 3, I think I really just enjoy cooking. Like making up new meals, learning new recipes. I eat mostly plant-based, and a secret love of mine is not tricking people into eating vegetarian food, but for them to say like, wow, this is better than the traditional whatever it may be, meatloaf or pizza, stuff like that. I enjoy that. So those are my 3. What are yours?
I kind of like my kids.
I hope so.
I think I would get in trouble if I didn't have them on my top 3. So definitely my top my 3, and they're at totally different ages. My daughter's 20, my son is turning 14.
I like how you looked at me.
I'm like, how old? and then 7, and you know, so I get to do different fun things with each of them, which is great. I love to dance and perform. Being on stage is definitely something that I love. And something that I know is very different from you is I love huge gatherings. I love big parties, you know, like invite 50 people over to my house. Like I love the chaos and the craziness and just the love surrounded by.
And you do it well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Keep going.
I'm starting to do a little bit more potlucks, which I think helps.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a fun question. What else do you got, Drew?
Yeah.
What is your hidden talent?
Oh.
My hidden talent is a little inappropriate.
What?
Not that way. I can do something called a bazooka with my leg, which makes it look like a bazooka gun, which has been a hidden talent of mine since grade 7.
I think you invented that, actually.
I did invent it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh boy.
And no, I'm not doing it right now.
Okay. My hidden talent. This is a hard one. We should have asked for these questions ahead of time.
No, that's no fun.
I know. I think that I have a talent for having people open up to me. So
That's a much more appropriate answer than mine.
well, I don't have something fun. I could say like, dancing, but that's not hidden. People kind of know that. But yeah, no, I think that like when people are talking to me, they open up, they'll really kind of say how things are really going as opposed to like surface stuff. And I like that. I like to connect with people on like at the heart level.
Cool. Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah.
If you had one wish, what would it be?
I wish that every child felt loved.
That is a deep wish and really, really nice.
I think the world would be a better place if every child felt loved.
I think my wish would be if people could be easier on themselves. I think we live in a world where everyone's expecting to be an expert at every aspect of their life right away, and that causes a lot of pressure and a lot of hardness. So just keeping things easy. I think both of our wishes together would make a pretty nice little...
I know. We gotta get on that. Do you have time for one more short one?
Yeah. What is your favorite word?
Ooh. We don't have a beeper for mine, but it's SHIT balls.
She likes
And
to
you
say that randomly.
And you love that I love that word.
So I think I do enjoy saying the word wiener dog, for sure.
And wiener. You just like saying wiener.
I like to say wiener. That's what we call our dogs. And I like how it just brings humor and it gets people laughing because it's unexpected. And your comment also makes me laugh. So
yeah, I love making you laugh. Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to do this on Tuesdays at lunch and have lunch with all of you. And we want to know what you want to know. We've got a lot of information in these brains, and we want to know what topics do you want to hear about. What would you like to find out about birth, postpartum, wiener dogs, parenting, anything. This is really just a fun time, just to chat and have lunch together. Yep. So,
and we're going to continue expanding with who we are at Helping Hands. So stay tuned. Every Monday we are going to do Meet the Team Mondays, and we are going to showcase one of our amazing team members so that you get to know the human side of all of us. So stay tuned.
We also have big news to announce on April 27th. April 27th. So stay tuned. We are going to keep you in suspense, but we have some big news. So, yeah.
Perfect. Post your comments in the
Yes, please.
Post your questions in the comments so that we can plan our next dish episode.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Have a great day, guys.